And we're live. Welcome into the Cafe Nightly Show. I'm your host, The Goldsmith. It is the 19th of July, 2024, and the day we've prophesized about, the day we've talked about is here. And that is the more details, or getting some more details on both the Chapter 2 Sparklet airdrop, but more importantly, some more details about the upcoming token launch. Again, we don't know the date, we don't know the time. There's a couple of tidbits that we did get in the announcement today that tell us about the partner that Upland's using to help launch on exchanges. Wow, there he is. Yes, he is. She's here. He is. Some more about the partner that they're using to launch on exchanges. They also told us a bunch of really important things about updates for the white paper. And here it is. The Sparklet white paper has been updated. This is the final version of the Sparklet white paper before the token launch. So ultimately, this is the white paper that is going to be used to coincide with, or to justify, or to sell, because ultimately that's what a token launch is, to sell the Upland's token here, Upland's token of Sparklet. So this is kind of important and exciting. This gives us an opportunity to see what has changed from the time we voted on this last fall to now. So we voted, the glasses match the shirt cheese. Yes, they do. We voted on this last year. UIP won this vote on whether or not we should have, or sorry, not what UIP won, but UIP one was a little different. The second vote, I should say, the second major vote in the game on whether or not we should have Sparklet released on exchanges and available for exchange outside the game of Upland. And of course, it passed. Upland's been evaluating how to do that for the last almost a year, a year in October, and ultimately a year in October. We should have Sparklet as a token because Upland talked about releasing it by the end of the summer. Well, we have a lot of the details that fill in the blanks on what exactly the token launch looks like, and they fill in the blanks as far as what we can expect, and some surprises, but as well as some justifications for those surprises along the way. And we'll get into all of those. We're going to play the old Kokomo method here. We're going to take it fast. We're going to take it slow. We're going to go and take a look at the entire announcement. Once we've looked at the entire announcement, then we can go and break things down into pieces. And of course, along with the update for, yes, Sparklet is coming eventually. And yes, we have an update to our white paper. We also got some updates and announcements on what the next chapter of the airdrop is going to look like. And alongside that, it's this kind of like what I'm going to call a secret airdrop or silent airdrop. And that is we'll get into it, but it's kind of a rebalancing of the value of Sparklet alongside the allocation of holders, a new allocation instead of a traditional airdrop where you do something, do activities, and that's what's earning you along the way. It's an allocation of Sparklet based on current holders and their holdings, and we'll get into that. It's a big deal. It really is. It has some meanings that are a little deeper than just more Sparklet, but we'll get into that. We do have to get the disclaimer on the way, and this is an important one because you should not, and we should not, and we aren't planning to speculate on the listing value, what Upland is going to list Sparklet at. We should not, cannot, and really it's not great for Sparklet to talk about what Sparklet will do after it's released as being original or as being early holders of Sparklet. Ultimately, once it's on exchanges, then we can see what happens. People can buy and people can sell, and people are going to buy with the intention of holding to sell, or people are going to sell believing that the price is going to go down after they sell it. There's all types of strategies people are going to have, but some speculation about what's going to happen before the launch or with the original launch, that's something we don't want to make any idea that there is some type of inside information out there, because there isn't. So let's get that disclaimer out of the way. All views and opinions expressed by myself and mine alone. They do not represent the game. They don't represent the team of Upland. Should be taken as game strategy or financial advice. Alongside that, if we do have guests, we do have contributors on, not tonight, but when we do, they have their own opinions. They have their own views. They're welcome to them. Shouldn't be taken as game strategy advice or financial advice. They don't represent myself, the Goldsmith, the Cafe Nightly Show. They don't represent the game or the team of Upland. Easy enough. Let's get right into that. Let's do the old Kokomo method, right? Take it fast. Oh, ho. Take it fast and take it slow. Oh, ho, ho. Kokomo. That's the one. That's the one. Let's jump in and take a look. And let's see the words that Upland put on the page to get this whole thing rolling. Boom, boom, ta-da, there it is. Exciting updates on Sparklet. Obviously, you see that $ because we're talking about Sparklet, the token. Airdrop Chapter 2 and white paper revisions. Again, Sparklet as a whole, Airdrop, white paper, two big important pieces. Very important pieces. We'll get into the details here. Let's get started. Let's get going. Take it fast. We are thrilled to share some exciting news and about Sparklet. There are two major updates we want to highlight. One, the launch of Chapter 2 of Sparklet in our airdrop series, as well as revisions to the Sparklet white paper. Both key pieces. Here for the airdrop Chapter 2, the next chapter in our airdrop series is just around the corner. Not here, not announced, just around the corner. As soon as it goes live, simply visit the airdrop website, link your Twitter account. You should already have that done if you did it last airdrop, and complete tweet missions to earn points. Again, like we did last airdrop. There's some differences though. We'll announce the launch on our official channels, so players will want to pay attention so they don't miss out. One of the official channels we talked about earlier was the Telegram channel. It has been launched in Upland, so that is one of the official channels to watch if that's where you're watching. There's other official channels, including in-game of Upland as well. With Chapter 2, we're making some changes to ensure a fair and engaging experience for everyone. I like it. How to play. The Build and Share Sparklet airdrop platform is an external website that allows users to earn Sparklet, formerly known as Spark. It's dead. The term Spark shouldn't be used. Well, if you use it, but is not being used by Upland because it is based on a larger quantity of Sparklet or a grouping of Sparklet in the group of 1,000, with the idea that Upland does not want to make this confusing for people who aren't in the economy now, who haven't been in the economy, who are coming in the future. So one name is Sparklet. Rewards in the Upland app by engaging with Upland's Twitter account. Participants connect their Twitter accounts and reply, like, and share the tweets highlighted on the platform to earn points. This is key. Let's take a look at what the old platform, or essentially the old points that we're looking at here. Earning points allows participants to level up during 3-week campaign with 10 levels. Here we go. You get 40 points for a reply, 60 points for a repost, 20 points per like. Earning points, participants earn points by following the Upland Twitters, Upland Me, and interacting with the tweets highlighted in the airdrop platform. Participants may encounter a delay in displaying the points due to Twitter APIs and 1 to 2 hours from the time of each action. The highlighted tweets will change periodically, so make sure to check back to the platform each day. Participants have an individual multiplier to their earned points, which depends on the potential reach of their Twitter account. Again, there's a little difference here when we talk about potential reach of your account. Claiming Sparklet. The Share and Build Sparklet airdrop platform is an external website with a separate identity system based on a sign-in with one's own Twitter account. To claim Sparklet in Upland, at the end of the chapter, participants will be able to connect their Upland account and see the balance come into the game of Upland, which we had happen last time as well. So here's what's important. What's important is we've had a change in that multiplier. Exciting new multiplier calculations. Your multiplier is now determined by the number of impressions you generate. Each week will assess all the quote missions you engage in and calculate your new multiplier. Again, we have a multiplier each week. So it's like that, like we had those levels before, and we had tiering, and we're tiering up based on our, the number of people who are following us. That's what the previous metric was. This is different besides age and number of people following us, now the engagement, so the actual impressions, the people who are seeing the tweets we make, the number of people who actually see the tweets we make, that's what determines what those multipliers are. And it makes a lot more sense, because what it does is it takes these phantom accounts, these ghost accounts, these accounts that people have that have all these followers, where half the followers are bots, or half the followers started following 15 years ago and don't actively do anything, right? They joined on, they followed this account many years ago. They don't see what happens, they don't engage what happens. Those accounts may not exist anymore, even if they existed at one point and were real. They just aren't actively engaged. So people who have more active accounts, whose followers are more engaged, who they're reaching out to their followers, and their followers are following what they're saying, or looking at what they're saying, or seeing their posts, those people are going to get higher points. And again, you can have impressions outside of your direct followers. There's different ways that can happen, and your post can be displayed to others, and those impressions are going to count as well. So this is a big deal. This is a opportunity for people who have active Twitter activities to cash in those active activities. And what Upland's ultimately paying for is getting the message out in front of new eyes. And honestly, in my case, I have a lot of eyes that already are on Upland, but in front of new eyes, in front of people who are going to see the actual post, and not based on the number of people who are following you, because some of them may not be looking at Twitter anymore. They may have given up on Twitter. They may be using a different account. So again, the number of eyes that actually see, or the number of impressions that are actually done between accounts. That's a nice way to do it. Weekly Refresh, the multiplier resets every week, offering you a fresh start and a new chance to earn a higher multiplier based on your efforts. Aim high and boost your multiplier week after week. Easy enough. New notification system. For Chapter 2, you will receive email notifications whenever a new post is available. This is nice. This is different than we had before. This ensures you never miss an opportunity to participate and maximize your points. New mission actions. The chapter introduces a variety of mission combinations. Look out for like missions, quote missions, reply missions, repost missions, and even all action missions. So we will have some missions that are things like quote, reply, repost. It'll tell you what to do. And it makes sense, because there's certain things that Upland doesn't need you to do everything for. There's things that are going to be like, oh yeah, just like this post. Just like it. There's been another one going to be reply. They want people to engage. They want to hear what they have to say. You get points for making a comment, and maybe Upland's going to look at those comments. Maybe those comments have value to what Upland does next. And then, of course, with a repost mission, that is telling people in your following, people following you, what Upland is saying. Essentially taking that same message and putting it out in front of everybody. And a quote mission is obviously the same thing. It's like a repost, except now you have to put some sauce on it. Now you have to put your own bit in there. New badges. Collect brand new badges in this chapter. Show off your achievements and collect them all. Badges, badges, badges. Some people go nuts for badges. So this is a way of helping engage people who aren't happy enough to be earning sparklet. You should be happy enough to be earning sparklet. But this is pretty cool. This is a way of saying, hey, you do the work. You excuse me. You do the work. You help spread the word, and you like badges. Little badge free, little bonus. All right. History multipliers. Easily check your weekly multiplier and score on a brand new page. Again, this is about verification of what you've been doing over time. Track your progress and strive for better results each week. Stay tuned to our announcement and official Upland channels to jump in as soon as Chapter 2 goes live. Sparklet white paper updates. This is huge. We've made several important updates in the Sparklet white paper to better align with our goals and provide additional clarity. Adjusting Spark to Sparklet. We already mentioned this. We've already talked about this. This is a small thing, but it's a big thing. Following the decision to unify the use of the Sparklet denomination, both inside and outside of Upland, we've updated the white paper to only address Sparklet in order to avoid unnecessary confusion for potential new players. Again, Spark is essentially just 1,000 Sparklet taped together. And it is just easier, instead of saying Spark and Sparklet, and people, needing to know that there's 1,000 pieces inside of this one piece. It's kind of like saying pennies and a dollar for 100 to 1. It's easier just to say pennies. How big is my penny stack? And that's essentially what we're saying with the Sparklet here. Added launch campaigns pool. This new allocation at 2% of token supply. Again, overall token supply of over a billion Sparklet will be used to promote the launch of Sparklet. Again, there are going to be ways that Upland gives out and exchanges Sparklet in order to promote Sparklet and get eyes on Sparklet and market Sparklet. So there's a 2% of the overall billion Sparklet that's allocated to do this job. And again, having that ability to promote Sparklet is what's going to help grow Sparklet. And Sparklet is, again, going to be tied to the game of Upland. Again, this Sparklet launch allocation, this new allocation, will have existing in future partner or with future partner centralized exchanges, as well as the Chapter 2 airdrop. So Chapter 2 airdrop, that this pool, Sparklet's going to come out of this pool for the Chapter 2 airdrop. Sparklet's going to come out of this tool for the launch with existing and future partner centralized exchanges. Again, that's Upland's partner who they're using to make these exchange listings, centralized exchanges. That does not tell us exactly what exchanges Upland plans to launch on. Development and growth allocation reduction. Ooh-wee! What does that mean? Let's get into it. Like I said, take it fast, take it slow. We'll get back to it. The development and growth, previously known as the Upland Treasury allocation, has been reduced from 40.3% to 31% to fully diluted token supply. Fully diluted token supply, again, we'll say it again, 1 billion Sparklet. That's fully diluted token supply. That means 31% will be, again, we'll talk about vesting, and those are all separate conversations. But 31% of the overall 1 billion, so 310 million Sparklet, are going to be earmarked specifically for the development and growth allocation. And again, we can talk about what that means a little bit. Existing owners increase. What? Let's take a look. The existing owners allocation. This is an allocation that essentially says at the release of Sparklet, all the people who own Sparklet, what percentage of Sparklet will they hold at the original launch or the original token launch of Sparklet? Well, we're going to amp that up to 14%. Previously, in the previous white paper, we'd say that the anticipation was 5.7%. That was based on previous numbers. Well, right now, as of today, approximately 7.55% of the total account, the total amount of the 1 billion Sparklet, 7.55% is currently held by current Uplanders. So Upland wants to take that number from 7.55% to 14%. We'll come back to this. But this means that of all the people who are owning Spark now or Sparklet now, they're going to own more Sparklet in theory. They're going to own more Sparklet than they own right now before or at the token launch, or because of the token launch. There'll be a snapshot. We'll get into some of the mechanics there. Some of the mechanics are still to come. The rest of this will be airdropped to the existing token owners. Again, that's what I mean, that difference between the 7.55% and the 14%. Keep in mind, the 7.55% may increase over time because there's other ways people can be earning Sparklet between now and the original launch. But at the time of launch, snapshot, and there will be an airdrop of existing token owners according to two separate criteria. One criteria is called tokens purchased. I purchased some Sparklet. I know a lot of other people have. And engaged Upland players. Engaged Upland players, it's going to include all the ways that you earn Sparklet, from treasure hunting to event rewards to login bonuses. Those who previously purchased Sparklet in Upland will be the first to receive their allocation of the airdrop. Again, the way this is calculated is a pretty specific, or is done in pretty specific terms. So if you bought Sparklet, everyone who bought blank amount of Sparklet is going to receive blank amount of bonus. Once that's all done and that number's figured out, then we can worry about the allocation for the engaged upland players. Additionally, in-game sparklet earners, such as those who have earned from treasure hunting, attending Genesis Live, and other activities prior to the TGE, will be rewarded periodically over the next several seasons. Okay, so it's going to be given out. It's not going to happen immediately. It's going to be happening in these following seasons. Players will need to hold and use their sparklet in Upland and stay active and engaged to receive the airdrop. Stay tuned for more details. Again, this is a special form of airdrop. This is more similar to the airdrop I received of Spark a very, very long time ago. 2 years and change years. 3 years ago? Oh my God. It feels like a million years ago. But when we had the original Sparklet drop, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when we had the original Sparklet drop, what happened was a certain amount of Sparklet, it wasn't Sparklet at the time, got dropped to people, different amounts to different people based on their activities, and we never got the clarity of what that was. But that was because they essentially had done activities which emulated the activities around Spark, and they determined based on the size of their account and their age of account, whatever other denomination terms was there. We never really was clear how many points you got for what. They got a certain amount of Spark. This is kind of similar. We're looking at what amount of Spark you've earned in the past. We're requiring you to continue to be engaged in the game in order to get that bonus back, but it's bonus based on what you already hold, essentially increasing your overall number of Sparklet owned and held by you simply for having previously owned that Sparklet and being an active member in the game. The expansion of this allocation will mean that Upland players will hold greater than 63% of the initial circulation supply of Sparklet. Initial circulation supply. This is when we get into vesting schedules. We'll talk about this later. But what's originally available, what's going to be available for the original mint or a release, the initial circulation supply of Sparklet tokens, 63%, over 60% will be held by Upland players. Again, there's these other pools we talked about. They have to be held in these pools for future development. The development fund, they have to be held in the pool to be used for the promotion and the launch of Sparklet. These are all very important pieces, but that means that the majority of Sparklet that's in circulation at the time of release is going to be held by Upland players. Updated vesting schedules and compression milestones. This is key. We'll come back to it, but we'll talk about it quickly. Following the advice of numerous token launch partners, over the past months, we've addressed concerns about potential liquidity problems and the delaying of token injection into the economy, and have reduced the amount of default vesting schedules for the development and growth and incentives and rewards pools. As a result, the compression milestones will be adjusted accordingly. Read all the updates in the Sparklet white paper. We're going to go there and take a look. Get ready! We believe these updates will enhance your Sparklet experience. Personal opinion, I think so. I agree. But again, no financial advice. But this is something that we'll talk about more, why this is valuable, and provide greater opportunities for everyone involved. Stay tuned for more announcements and be ready to dive into the new chapter of Sparklet. Yay! So this is exciting. This is exciting. All right, let's go back and take a look at the two big things that I want to take a look at when we talk about keep going up. We'll talk about the two big things I want to talk about with Chapter 2. And then when I get to Chapter 2, boom! We're going to get right out of there. We get right into the Sparklet white paper update with some important notes there along the way. As we said on the way as we're going through, the airdrop is going to be pretty similar in that it's an interactive campaign, interacting with Upland's tweets, getting more eyes on them by leveraging our followers. The reward structure is a little different. The reward structure is not based on the age of your account multiplied by the number of followers, creating some type of coefficient. It is based upon you and your account as of today and how people interact with it. People seeing your post, people interacting with your post potentially. This idea of getting impressions, getting people to see your post, that's what's going to determine your multiplier factor. You obviously have to do the work. You have to do the interaction with the upland posts as are required, but then your multiplier is going to be based on what your account is doing, what eyeballs it is reaching. So key important piece there. And again, the points are pretty similar. You got 40 points for reply, 60 points for a repost, 20 points for a like, and not all of the activities are going to be the same. You're not going to have a like, a repost, and a reply on all these activities. Some of them will just say reply, some of the activities will be like, some activities will be repost, and some of the activities will require some combination of those interactions. The earning points, again, we had this before. The 1 to 2 hour delay on the API from Twitter. Take it seriously. I mean, when I say take it seriously, I mean, understand it's there. Don't have a heart attack because your points aren't there. We've seen this before. People do an activity, and 45 minutes later, I haven't seen my points, boys. It's broken. Oh, Upland, you made a mistake. You took my points away. But they show up an hour and a half later. So maybe you could have just pulled your pants up and took a deep breath and waited for a bit and just seeing it pop up a couple hours later. So just keep the same idea this time around. Don't get too excited, concerned, or worried because it's taking 2 hours for things to show up. That's just the way the API of Twitter works when keeping track of these activities. So definitely keep an eye out and a mind out that this is not going to be instant. Claiming Sparklet. Again, the share and build Sparklet airdrop platform. It's external. You have to tie it back to Upland. You have to have an Upland account. You have to tie it back together before the end of the airdrop. You don't have to tie it together before the airdrop activities start. We've had this before. That happened before. People just need to make sure they get that tie-in before that requirement date, before they are going to calculate and bring all the Sparklet and all of that. You have to have your Upland account tied. All right, pretty easy. Again, the calculations, impressions. The weekly refresh is huge. It means that if I do things that change the way I'm having impressions, if I grew my followers, if I have gotten people more engaged in my post, if I can do things to bring new followers, and that's the thing. Here's the thing about followers. If I bring new followers in, I might get more impressions because those new followers, they may be more active users than somebody who's been a follower for 3 years. Someone who's followed for 3 years, that might have been an account that person's not using anymore. That person may have moved to an area where they don't have very good internet. We don't know. But we do know that if somebody followed you yesterday, maybe they'll see your post today. Maybe they'll interact with them and see them, and maybe they will get you some more points towards a multiplier. So definitely having a reset or refresh on a weekly basis means that if you're doing things to actively grow and enhance your Upland associated Twitter account, then you could be reaping those rewards as soon as next week. Kind of exciting. New mission actions. The chapter introduces that variety of combinations. Again, you could have a reply, a quote, a repost, and you could have combinations of multiple of those as well. The new badges are fun. We like them. People like them. People in Upland like them. And it's nice to have those rewards for how you participate in the Sparklet Chapter 2 airdrop. History multipliers. Yeah, this is key. Depending on what you earned for multipliers in the previous week, you might try something different this week, or you might try to use it as a point of pride, or you might try to look at your previous weeks and say, ooh, that wasn't what I wanted to do, and find ways to do better. Having the history of your previous scores is going to make it easier for you to change strategies if you are applying strategies here, like How do I bring in new followers? What am I doing? Am I putting new content out? Am I putting upland specific content out? Am I engaging in different communities that are crypto adjacent, tied to or similar to upland, that I could really go and get new eyes on my account, get new followers? So those are all things there that are helpful in continuing that quest of getting new eyeballs on these posts. Stay tuned for our announcements and official upland channels for the soon to come chapter 2 goes live. And again, that is the same thing as I mentioned with the multiple channels. I do want to point that out. Here's some official channels. Technically speaking, Discord is an official channel. Upland is moving to other channels as well. We know that in the game of Upland, Layer 1 Upland, there's official channels inside the communication of the chat, lower left-hand corner of your screen. Go in there, and you can see that Upland has official channels that they post announcements on. And then we additionally have a Telegram, a new official Telegram, where if you have 75 Telegrams, you just go through your Telegrams, you find your Uplands, you see what your new official announcements are. And again, Upland's going to use this as an official announcements channel. This is not going to be a general or live communication channel. This is going to be, it looks like a post only, post by Upland only announcement channel, which is kind of nice. It's nice to have it in one place. Again, I'm not a biggest fan. I haven't been a biggest fan of Telegram, but there's people who can't use or don't use Discord. There's people who can't use or don't use other communication platforms. Obviously, if you're playing Upland, you can always check your announcements in Upland. But if you're going to Telegram to check the announcements on one crypto game, and you're looking while you're there at another crypto game, if you have Upland there, that's your third crypto game you're going to look at that day. So having listing on Telegram or having that account in Telegram, it's going to be helpful for some people. It's going to be helpful for Upland to reach some people who might not be seeing Upland on a daily basis. Here's the big ones. Here's the big ones on the white paper. Big ones on the white paper. You ready for it? Read the white paper. Well, that's a big one. That's a big one. I'm going to take a quick look. I do want to point out that there is a lot to read here. There's a lot more to read here than our quick notes for our updates that Upland gave us. But this is something I want to encourage everyone to read. And I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to make it easy. HTTPS / guides.upland.me/sparklet. guides.upland.me/sparklet. You can go and you can see this by, if you go to Upland's official site, you go to guides, you can slide down and you can go to Sparklet. This is not the hardest thing to get to. The white paper is on Upland's landing page. When you get there, before you log in, you can go and look at guides, look at the white paper for Sparklet, pop right in, take a look at all of this. It's easy to get to. Again, there's a couple things that haven't really changed here, and they are absolutely fine. We do still see some language pieces, the Sparklet and Spark, and they still have the language here. But again, that language that we are going to move over to just talk about Sparklet is a key one here. The idea that the language of Spark still kind of exists here in the ethos, in the overall line here. See Sparklet and Spark, they still have the language Spark there, but we are trying to align this two together. Vesting schedules have significantly changed. Again, when we talked about vesting schedules coming down to a shorter period of time, the entire vesting schedules are down to 120 months. Upland originally was at 30 years. 120 months, 10 years. 360 months would have been the 30 that Upland was talking about. Why do you shorten that vesting schedule? Well, the original reason why Upland had a long vesting schedule is because they had this long run, 30 years. The game continues to exist. There continues to be reason for more Sparklet to be injected into the economy. They continue to inject the Sparklet into the economy. That all makes sense, and it makes sense that would continue to happen. That would continue to happen over time. However, 30 years is a long time. And there's a couple things. If you slow things down too much, you may not have enough overall supply. You might not have enough of the Sparklet out in the hands of people as they go to play the game of Upland, or as they go to buy and sell on exchanges. And in order to have the right amount of sparklet on there, the tokenomics, the people who are working on the tokenomics of the game or of sparklet token release thought that they needed to have a larger amount of tokens out sooner, which is why we're stepping up the vesting schedule. Keep in mind, Upland still has mechanisms that say we want to see this level of engagement to have this level of release, or because this level of engagement has happened, we're going to increase the release at this time. That is a key note, and it is a function that Upland's using to release sparklet when it's actually needed, as opposed to let's put some more sparklet out there. So that is an important thing. Again, there's a maximum supply of 1 billion sparklet. The fact that it's not all available on day one, that's key. That's important. That means that we could have more people come in the future. And that means that the market's not flooded from day one, or it's not oversaturated is a real reality. So it's not oversaturated from day one, that we have a limited token supply on day one. But as the ecosystem were to grow, there'd be a greater availability of that token to be out there. And theoretically, in 10 years, according to the vesting schedule, if everything goes and happens in the game's wonderful, and we're all dancing around with our Sparklet t-shirts to say, I bought Sparklet before it was Sparklet. When we're all happy in 10 years, the next number of Sparklet will be out into the ecosystem, and there won't be any more Sparklet to come. And the Sparklet will be a fixed resource at a billion Sparklet just sitting there. And, if people want it, they have to buy it. And who knows what the price is going to be at that time. We're not even going to speculate, but we are going to say that we do have a finite supply. Vesting schedule says that it'll all be out there in 10 years. And as far as I'm concerned, I would love Upland to have the utility of Sparklet in 10 years. So there's a reason for that to be out there. And there's a reason for that value, that exchange value, the market price, to be higher than it is right now. Again, not speculation, not telling you what's going to happen. Just, I like that idea. I like the idea of continued growth and continued utility. And there's plenty of that to come. Again, this is key. This is key and this is important. We see that Upland broke this down in many, many ways. So we can see that we have different pools. The development and growth pool, again, is going to vest over the course of 20 months, aka 10 years. That means that we're not going to release all of that 31% right off the bat. That's going to sit in a little fund all locked up, and it's going to get released here slowly. And 2.3% of that total fund is going to be available and put into circulation, or able to be put out, I should say. It's unlocked at TTE. That is when the token's initial launch is happening. The incentives and rewards, that is going to be 24%. That is how Upland can continue to put out that Sparklet bonus. That is how Upland can give people Sparklet as a part of treasure hunting. That is how Upland can give people Spark for participating in a contest, in a race series, in whatever the case is, and winning that Sparklet as a reward. 0.1% of that 24% will be available at the time of TTE. Why 0.1? Why such a small amount? Well, keep in mind that we are going to, at the time of TTE, that's going to be its own fund that gets set up. Theoretically, all the Sparklet that had been given out previously, it doesn't necessarily fall in these funds in the same way. The available at TTE is the amount that people theoretically would be winning contemporaneous or at a similar time. And then the vesting schedule, monthly vested at 0.199% is the current vested without an accelerator or decelerator. And again, Upland has decelerators and accelerators for if there's growth or stagnation of the number of players in the game of Upland, and the number of exchanges of Sparklet outside on the exchanges. So 0.199% monthly vested. That's going to vest over 10 years for incentives and rewards. So that's a key piece there. Ecosystem and grants. There's going to be 15% of the overall supply allocated for that. 0%. are going to be at TTE. That means none of those grants are going to be given out. They will be vested in at 0.313%. So 0.313% is going to go to that pool, and then that pool can be used to pay out grants to partners who will be utilizing Sparklet in their related ecosystems to Upland. Advisors and supporters. Oh no, what the heck is this? This is not a amount that is going to the team of Upland. Theoretically, this is the people who are helping make the game or the fund, let's say the fund of Sparklet work. 10% of the overall allocation. That is going to monthly vest at 0.167. That's 0% at TTE. It's going to build over time and be distributed. 0.167%. And that's 10%. So 10% of $1 billion is 100 million. 100 million Sparklet over the course of the lifetime of Sparklet, over the entire vesting schedule, is going to end up in the hands of advisors and supporters. Again, that's people helping make Sparklet come into Sparklet. Is it worth paying 10% of your overall haul, your pot, the overall value of your token to the people who are making these token whatever, these token events happen? Yeah. I mean, does that mean potentially people who are Upland employees get? So I don't know that number or how that lines out, but that means that is not amounts that are going out or that are retroactively vested for people in Upland as employees, that they're getting a big pile of Sparklet at the release, which is kind of nice and kind of interesting and very nice that Upland set it up that way. It's not a way for Upland to cash out or Upland employees to cash out because we got to a token launch. The existing Upland owners. Woo! So the total percent is the 14% we talked about. That's all of us who own at or before TTE. That's important to say. Existing Upland owners is 14%. We said it's at 7.5% or 7.6%, whatever it was, and that at TTE it'll be 10.9%. And then after TTE, based on the people who own Sparklet before TTE, we'll continue to have those percentages go out. Good to see it, trees. So that is a key thing to know. We could have some mild increases in the overall pool of Sparklet that is owned by the existing player base prior to TTE. But then at TTE, there's going to be a reconciliation. The reconciliation is going to push it from whatever that number is to 10.9% of Sparklet is going to be held or distributed among existing Upland owners. And again, that first payout or that first reconciliation is going to be an airdrop to people who bought Sparklet, and they're going to get some more Sparklet just for having bought Sparklet previously. But wait, Goldie, what does this mean? But why, Goldie? Why? Okay, so what this means is this is, in essence, it's a dilution. It's a little bit of a dilution because we are giving more Sparklet to people who already bought Sparklet at one price, and instead of that, $460 USD to buy a single Spark. Now they paid their $460 USD, and their one Spark might be 1.5. And again, wait for this number to get finalized, but that could be 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, whatever. Again, whatever that math ends up being. I don't know. I can't tell you. It's hard to know at this point. It could be 2 even. But again, hard telling, not knowing. That's not speculation. We'll see what it is. But that is a way of essentially saying you got more for the price you already paid. We already had this happen with the NFLPA legits. People bought these mementos. They paid a certain amount for it. Instead of saying, we're going to give you a refund because of our new ones are costing less, which technically Upland didn't have to do any of that. But instead of giving a refund because the new mementos were set at a lower price than the previous mementos had been set, because the previous mementos were set at a very high price and were hard to sell. So Upland lowered the price. We'll come back to this. Lowered the price for future sales. And by doing so, they essentially made people look at those previous ones and say, why were those sold higher than this? So in order to rebalance, they gave new mementos to those players who had bought the mementos at a higher price, theoretically giving them the same amount of value while acknowledging the dilution, less value per item, but helping them hold their value overall more similar to what they paid in by giving them more items because each item is worth less. That was the idea. That was the original idea. Again, without adding or injecting additional value or without requiring an exchange of value from one group of parties to another, without requiring me to pay more for the sparklet I'm going to get, I'm getting more sparklet. That's where the dilution is. That's where the dilution is. There's more overall out there. Each one worth a little bit less. But at that same time, theoretically, if this is being done right, and it looks like it's being done right, if this is being done right, it kind of makes it so, in essence, instead of paying $460 per spark, I paid blank. And I'm going to throw a number out there. This does not mean how it's going to break out, but I'm going to throw a number out there. For example, it means that if, let's say, it was a direct 2-to-1, Upland gives me the exact same amount in addition that I paid out there, it means that I paid an equivalent of $230 USD per sparklet I acquired, or per spark. Per spark I acquired. Again, let's not get confused with the language, because spark is 1,000 sparklet, but that was the previous way it was sold. So if I had paid $230 per 1,000 sparklet I had bought, the equivalent thereof, because now I have 2,000 sparklet in my previous purchase as opposed to 1,000. So that's kind of how that would work, to say the equivalent price. And ultimately, why would we do this? Why would Upland do this? Well, the reason why Upland would likely do this, or the reality behind doing this, is because at launch, they're looking, they're thinking, they're going, well, we think that based on the market value and based on all of our research with tokenomics, and all of our advisors are telling us that the flashpoint, the price that is most likely to get additional, I'm sorry for using the voice, get additional interaction with the market is going to be whatever. And I'm saying whatever because I'm not speculating on what that number is. But the theory is it's a lower price than 46 cents per sparklet. And how do we get to 46 cents per sparklet? Well, again, there's no idea that Upland was ever going to charge 46 cents per sparklet, but Upland was previously charging $460 per spark. Multiply that by 1,000, you get 46. A sparklet is 1,000th of a spark. So that 46 cents was this idea in some people's minds that might have been released. That might have been what was going to be released at the token release. We see that it's more than likely, again, no speculation, no guarantee, we are going to see likely that it's lower than the 46 cents at release per sparklet. What is TTE? TTE is essentially the initial token release. So token exchange, or listing on token exchange, is the TTE. So at the time of the listing of the token exchange, anybody who had owned Sparklet before essentially gets their own category. That's how we're going to be allocating out, and that's how people are going to be getting airdrop based on continued activity, getting airdrop for all that spark they earned through ways other than the purchase. People who purchased the Sparklet, they're likely going to get their airdrop shortly after the TTE, or contemporaneous or around the TTE. The snapshot's probably going to happen at or about or almost exactly at the TTE, at the original token release. Easy enough, and I hope it is. It really isn't that complicated in the grand scheme of things. You're getting a little bit of a reward because you bought in early, because Upland kind of shifted. And again, not saying that Sparklet's not worth what it was, but they kind of shifted their anticipation of where they could list Upland's token, Sparklet, as a Ethereum token. Once that amount was set, at least theoretically set, we don't have the details. That's still all held until it's official. But once they had set that, then they go back and say, okay, how do we rebalance the economy based on the people who had originally paid for it? And again, That answer is to give those people who paid and purchased a little more sparklet to make the difference. And again, those people who earned it, they were earning it. Well, it was theoretically worth $460, not purchasable worth, I should say. It wasn't worth it. You couldn't sell it, but it was potentially purchased at $460 per spark, aka 46 cents per sparklet. So they're working to rebalance that as well for those people who earned an accrued sparklet. But they are requiring you to be active in order to get that. That's why there'll be events. You have to do things to be active in order to get that amount prorated, essentially, or that amount rated to your earnings previously. Make sense? I hope so. If you have questions, drop them in. Drop them in the comments of the YouTube video if you're watching after the fact. If you really don't know, I'll go check. I'll get the answers for you. This is something I want people to be able to understand. I want people who don't know what Upland is but are looking at Sparklet to be able to understand this in a pretty good detail. And the easiest way to do so, again, guides.upland.me/Sparklet is a great way to get started to understand this white paper and get in and read it. And I'm going to say this one more time later before I say goodbye for the night, which we're not there yet. But I'm going to say it now. Go and read the white paper because that's how you have these details. Did I miss something? Maybe. Go and read the white paper. Maybe Upland didn't, but I didn't touch everything in there because there's a lot in there. I just try to touch some things that are pertinent and that are things that may be new. This vesting schedule definitely is new. So we went and talked about the existing Upland owners. This was a big focus for me. This is a big focus for the way this is working, is we are rewarding people who are in the game early by giving them more Sparklet because when we go to the launch, it's not going to quite match the price that it was when people purchased it in the game of Upland. Now, we'll take a quick deviation to answer a question that people have had for a while. Why are we talking about the exchange pricing of being outside the game of Upland when we know Upland has that $460 USD to buy a spark like we had previously, or 46 cents per sparklet? That's what the price has been. It's been fixed for years, Goldie. Why are you talking about the price? Well, once there is an initial release, and that's going to make a market rate. That market rate is going to be the rate at which it exchanges on the open market, just like a stock. The rate that the Sparklet is exchanging on the open market to USD, and whether that is blank or blank. I said blank or blank. That's not speculation. Whether it's blank or blank or blank, that blank or blank or blank is going to help influence what the price is that Upland is selling Sparklet at in the game of Upland. If the price is below the 46 cents that the original approximation that many people had was, well, the price in Upland is going to be below the 46 cents. If the price goes up and it's above the 46 cents the original approximation was, then the price of Sparklet in the game of Upland will be above 46 cents. They look at averages based on how they choose to look at averages. It could be weekly, monthly, daily. However they choose to build those averages, they will have an average of what the market price is or has been, and they'll use that to price the Sparklet at the next Sparklet sales. Interesting. And here is my last piece of this kind of circle of selling Sparklet outside of the game versus inside the game. Again, Upland selling Sparklet inside the game at a similar price to the exchanges outside the game. And of course, if we are talking about buying and selling Sparklet, inside the game, we talk about people vesting out and are going through a portal, essentially moving their Sparklet out of the game of Upland and outside, into their wallets. So being able to have that Sparklet in a different ecosystem, that is going to be something that's going to be free market. That's going to go flow up and that's going to flow down. And as that flows up and as that flows down, Upland's sell price of Sparklet in the game of Upland is going to be based on where that free market happens to be and happens to land at any given time. All right. Existing Upland owners, that's the big one. Launch campaign, 2%. Again, we talked about that idea of the launch campaign. That is the Sparklet used to promote and get exchange listings and used as promotion during those exchange listings or the new events. There used to be a thing in Coinbase where there would be ways to earn certain tokens by doing certain things. Essentially, if I do a quick seminar and I learn about Sparklet, again, this is just an example. If I learn about Sparklet, Coinbase at one point had this program where you could go and get Sparklet. Again, it wasn't Sparklet. Sparklet's never been offered out of the game. I'm just listing that example. I believe Coinbase still has the learn and earns where you do this quick little tutorial on this new token and they give you whatever of that token. I guess a decent amounts of token by doing those learn and earns back in the day or a significant amount of time ago. But, again, something of that nature, those type of promotions to get people involved in the token of Sparklet as it releases, that is where that 2% goes. And it could be very helpful in bringing new people in the market. It could help with the market price. It could help with the distribution. And it could ultimately bring new people in the upland. So this is a good amount of Sparklet, 2%, to be out there for a good reason. The liquidity and multi-chain support, 4%. What does that mean? Well, it's all half of that, 2% of the overall token, the 1 billion circulation. So 20 million is going to be available immediately for liquidity and multi-chain support. And that is to sit in these exchanges, in these swaps, so that Sparklet can be there so people can go and buy and sell and move things around. And it's essentially a float, and it's a float so that there's liquidity when people go to buy and sell and stuff can move in and out. And it's not zero or available on the market. And then it looks like, there's none available. And then you have a rush where, the market rate goes way up because we are out of all liquidity and there's some weird stuff going on. And then it crashes down and then it goes up and then it crashes down. So Upland is maintaining that liquidity pool, is helping to maintain that liquidity pool, which is why we see that. Because again, we don't want to go in that, skyrocket and then crash because now the supply came up and we don't want to be in that position. So the liquidity and multi-chain support is key there. That's why it's 4% of the overall allocation of the 1 billion, and 2% is going to be available at the token release date. That is going to essentially give me a position where we've got some more reserves. So if it's needed in the future, it can be added in the future. That gives us a total of 17.3% of the total amount of Sparklet that will ever exist, ever, at any given point, will be out and available, unlocked, vested, out there in the world at the time of the release. 17.3%. That leaves the majority of Sparklet to be given out over the next 10 years. I say given out, but, brought out into the market over the next 10 years. Again, if we look at the allocations, we will see that existing Upland owners are going to get the lion's share of it or hold the lion's share. That's 10.9%. 10.9% out of 17.3%. I think I found where Upland said they're going to have higher than 63% of the overall amount of Sparklet at the time. That's this number here. 10%, 17.3% total, 10.9, 70.3. 63%. So there you go. That's how Upland does that math. And a key thing here is the existing Upland owners. There is a definition of existing Upland owners. That is all the people who own Sparklet at the TTE when the actual token gets released. People can come and earn a Sparklet in the game of Upland in the future. That's going to come out of incentives and rewards. Yeah, that's going to come out of incentives and rewards. So we're going to see that there is a place for people to continue to earn Sparklet long term. So that's not a concern. That's not a worry. But for those of us who are in the game of Upland and have a certain amount of Sparklet at the token release, we are going to get some type of bonus for the Sparklet we've purchased. That's how we're going to get up to that 10%. And then we're going to have a sliding scale or a way that we're going to earn it or receive it in future seasons of the game of Upland, where we're going to continue to receive, again, a bonus of Sparklet based on the Sparklet that we had earned previously. And again, it won't happen all at once. It's going to happen over time. It's going to require continued activity. So it's not going to be a shock to the system where there's going to be that additional 4% approximately. No, sorry, 3.1%. The additional 3.1% is not going to just drop there. That additional 3.1% on the existing upland owners, that's going to be given out over time. So that's going to reduce some of that shock of the extra liquidity put out into the market, where people go, what do I do with this sparklet? They might feel that way about the little bit extra that they got, again, for the, bonuses on what they purchased, but hopefully they figure it out. Hopefully they figure it out and don't say, I'm going to sell it all. Here's some things, I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen. I have my own thoughts. I'll say them privately. I'll say them in places that aren't recorded. I'll say them to my friends maybe, but I'm not speculating. I'm not going out and saying, hey guys, this is what's going to happen. I don't know it to be the case. I can't know it to be the case. I'm not telling you how to do it, but there are some realities. Some realities are the initial release price. My beard is so fluffy. Maybe you got to trim it. Yes, my beard is so fluffy. Maybe there's some things that are going to happen with the value of Sparklet that are going to change after the original token release. I said maybe, being that is diplomacy right there. It is going to change. It's either going to go up or it's going to go down. More than likely, it's going to go up and down and up and down and up and down. Again, not telling you exactly how the values of tokens work or how the value of Upland's Sparklet token is going to work. But I can tell you, hey, if you've looked at enough cryptocurrency, enough tokens over the years, they both go up and down. And there's certain market forces that make them go up, and there's certain market forces that make them go down, and there's some market forces that affect them right after they're released, and there's some market forces that affect them shortly after they're released. Keep that in mind. Do your own research. Play your own game. Know that you are doing something that now qualifies as an investment. Congratulations! If you just bought token outside the game of Upland, the Ethereum version, the token of Sparklet on Ethereum, if you just bought Sparklet on Ethereum, you've just invested in a Upland token or Upland currency. Wow! Congratulations. People talked about speculating or investing in Upland. Nobody's invested in Upland other than the investors of Upland, of the company. Nobody has really invested in the value of us. I guess they could have said they bought it and held it because they knew there was going to be a token release eventually. Maybe. But you weren't really investing in Sparklet. The Sparklet was not exchangeable at the time. For a period of time, we had no confirmation that Sparklet was ever going to be listed on exchanges. At one point, we were told that we were probably never going to see a currency from Upland go onto exchanges, and then it softened, and then it came back around, and obviously it came to a vote last year, and obviously Sparklet is going to be a token on exchanges that's going to be par value, 1-for-1, with the Sparklet that's in the game of Upland. So it's essentially the same value token inside the game of Upland as it is outside the game of Upland. So just keep that in mind. That is a new element of Upland. It is coming. It is worth noting. It is worth considering. And don't let it, take your head out of the game of Upland. This is a part of the game. You have the opportunity to buy Sparklet potentially at a lower price than it was originally available. You have the opportunity to sell Sparklet potentially at a lower price than it was originally available. But you may also be receiving more Sparklet than you paid for. You may also be receiving more Sparklet than you had previously earned. There is a reason why Upland's doing this, and it makes a lot of sense. And it doesn't mean if the amount of price, the price listing, is lower than the 46 cents. Again, this is a broad number. The 46 cents that people suggested that Sparklet might list at, if it's listed below, it doesn't mean that Sparklet's not as valuable. It means that Upland adjusted intentionally, adjusted a couple things, a couple things that were out there at the time to give people value who are holding Sparklet and to price Sparklet at a value that seemed to meet the current market. Keeping in mind that the way the crypto market works, Look at this, up and down and up and down and up and down. The way the overall economy works, not always on the same cycle as crypto. They could be counter to each other. There are obvious opportunities, and there's obvious price point, and there's obvious marketability at different points in the market. And based on looking at the market of 2 months ago and the likely market of 2 months in the future, Upwind made that determination. And again, it was for a reason. And hopefully, I say hopefully, but I think that there's reason to be hopeful that original listing price is going to be about the right price. So we're not going to see people buy it up and have the value shoot up to $1 billion. We know that the fact that there's a delayed, isn't that smart? It's almost like Upland knows what they're doing. Since there's a delayed vesting in that existing Upwind owners, we're probably not going to have the price super skyrocket because there's going to be people who continue to receive supply over an extended period of time. Again, equivalent to about 3.1% of the overall supply of lifetime supply of Sparklet. And that 3.1% should be enough to keep this from, just a runaway because of limitations of supply. It would help to tamp that down some, help to keep people focused on the utility of Sparklet in the game of Upwind, as opposed to have people just chase a runaway Sparklet, which eventually will probably crash, because this is not speculation, but this is the reality of crypto, that we see these boom and bust cycles, and something to keep in mind. And then, of course, I do want people to keep in mind that regardless of the value of Sparklet on the open market, Upland has a value for Sparklet in the game of Upland, and that is doing the utility items, building structures, eventually powering cars. We don't know when. Using that Sparklet to potentially burn to make legits in the game of Upland, using that Sparklet to make map assets in the game of Upland or structural ornaments. And there'll be more things to do with Sparklet in the future. So you'll continue to have that utility regardless of what the value is outside the game of Upland. And as Upland has already said, if the value of Sparklet significantly fluctuates, they do have a mechanism to essentially say, hey, the utility of Sparklet has changed because Sparklet's now worth, I'm not going to say the word because I'll make people, it's coming, Goldie. If it essentially went up significantly from what the original is, you might have your Sparklet in the game of Upland do more work. And if you have Sparklet devalue significantly, if it's worth significantly less than it was before, again, not something I'm hoping for, but I'm just saying if it were to happen, then ultimately the utility could potentially go down as the price is lower. This floating utility to match the market value, it's a really strong tool. Excuse me, to help encourage the growth or a regulated market. And I say regulated, not, regulators are coming, but regulated meaning there's a reason for things to happen. There's a reflex. There's a reflex in the economy. So it does help create a market in which, there's an incentive for the price to value to go up. So we have more utility. If people continue to push that value up, or if that value gets pushed up as people are purchasing more of it, then they get a little bonus out of it. They paid more for it, or the value of it went up. So now it does a little more work. And if that continues to be the case, then there is a justifiable reason for the increased value. And as the value increases, utility increases. And because the utility increased, it made more sense for someone to buy in because they know what they can do with it. So they bought in because of the increased, potential utility. And then guess what? Now that's higher, now people are going to buy some more and they're going to get the utility they paid for. And again, I don't foresee a runaway valuation. I'm just saying that it is nice to have that mechanism to keep people interested in Sparklet, even if it gets a little more expensive, because it's not like you're spending blank, a big number, like just imaginary big number, blank per Sparklet, and still having it do the same amount of work. still requiring the same amount of sparklet to build the same size structure. Thank you, Upland, for that. That is a very important piece. And let's get the last two things here. They're going to liquidity and multi-chain support. We already went over. The 100% is the maximum amount that will ever be out there, a billion sparklet. 7.3%, which is out there at TTE. And then, of course, the monthly vested is 1.08%. That means 1.08%. Again, there's modifiers, there's ways for this to get accelerated and decelerated, but 1.08% is the monthly vesting. That's what's going to come into the economy or into the market out of the total remaining balance of unvested sparklet. Easy enough? I hope it is. You have questions, put them in the comments in YouTube. I'll take a look. Send me a DM in the game of Upland. Keep your eyes open. Okay, so that's easy. That was probably the most important point here, is seeing that vesting change. We can see that the sales, how this works, the token sales and distribution. Up until now, Sparklet has only been sold to Uplanders inside the game of Upland. Following the launch of Sparklet, there will be two methods for sale. First, through the Sparklet exchanges. Upland Inc. may conduct periodic programs through centralized or decentralized exchanges that will not exceed 2% of the global Sparklet trading volume. Woo! So Upland can go and do a sale and sell. Again, we have different buckets of Sparklet. They could have a Sparklet sale out in the exchanges, in the open exchange world, or they can sell Sparklet inside of Upland. We talked about how we will continue to have Spark sales inside of Upland, how they will be influenced by the market rate of Sparklet outside the game of Upland. Upland Me Inc. may sell Sparklet inside the game of Upland at the current market price. Again, it will not be the 460. It'll be whatever it is. They say $460 USD per Sparklet, aka 46 cents per Sparklet. Sorry, 46 cents per Sparklet, $460 USD per Spark. That amount is not going to be a fix. That is not going to be a set. That is not going to stay there. It's going to continue to float with a floating value. And again, rewards. Yes, we know Sparklets are going to be earned through mini games or potentially having the opportunity to do so. Activities in the game of Upland, blah, blah, blah. Incentive schema, lots and lots of ways for people to earn their Sparklet, continue in the future. Again, keeping the Upland economies protected. The amount of spark hours required for construction of particular structures in Upland can be adjusted. This is that mechanism. This is a protectionary mechanism we talked about, or I talked about. I try to hope you understand that can be used to keep in mind if the value of Upland or Upland Sparklet or the overall Sparklet changes significantly, then the utility of that Sparklet can change as well. Upland protected, easy enough, legal compliance, blah, blah, blah. There's not everything has changed here, but again, there's airdrops coming. You have to, in order for you to claim your airdrop Sparklet, you have to do the participation of Sparklet. You have to have an Upland account. You have to link the two. That's simple. Do all those things. You can claim the Sparklet based on your activities in the game of Upland. And there's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on there, inclusive of a requirement of KYC in order to get your Sparklet and connect your MetaMask to Upland account. Blah, blah, blah. So how you can get your Sparklet and you can bridge your Sparklet out. So getting your Sparklet out of the game of Upland, you have to stake your Sparklet for a month in 90 days. For at least 30 days prior to the 90 days, plus a 30-day cooldown. So we have that idea that you have at least 90 days prior to hold your Sparklet, 30 days of having it actually staked in those prior to 90, and then cool down for 30 days before you can even put it on the exchange. Woo! Yeah, well, Upland will have more to say about that when the bridging is actually here. But that's the language. That's the language that is there. But again, we can touch up based on two more things and go back to the announcement. Go and look at the white paper. Do it for yourself. Read it yourself. If you get questions, if you have questions, ask them of the team. There are ways to go reach out and do those. Again, there are room to do so in the channels in the Game of Uplands chat. There is room to do so in Discord in constructive ways. Don't be rude to the team members of the staff. Questions of clarity are important. Questions about what's going to happen next are helpful for no one. What day is it going to release? They can't release that until they're ready to make that announcement. What's going to be the original, the first token? What's the rate when the token releases? Can't do that either. So constructive questions are when there is something that is in writing or in a announcement that is not clear or it contradicts itself. Find a way to ask that question to get an answer that increases clarity for yourself and for others. And if your question does that, it's worth asking. All right. So like I said, we look at the Sparklet. The white paper updates are huge there. The Spark is now Sparklet, easy enough. Launch the campaigns tool. Yes, like we have to have that there to have the ability to use incentives to bring people in as we have those launches, the Sparklet launch. The development and growth allocation reduction again. Development and growth has decreased. So less of it's going to development and growth, more of it's going to other places. We saw how that worked. That increased owner's percentage. That just means that you've got more headed your way for whatever you've done to earn Sparklet already. Easy, easy, easy. Continue to see easy. You got more questions, you get more answers. I would hope Upland at some point has more opportunity to put this information out for themselves. It is nice that we had the opportunity to see as much detail as Upland put out in this announcement. This is a nice announcement. I've seen Upland put out information in the past that has more holes in it than this has. Are there holes here? Absolutely. Are there holes in the white paper? Ones that there are questions that can be asked that don't have an answer just by reading the white paper. Absolutely. But the Upland white paper does hold well enough together that it builds a structure for Sparklet and says essentially what you're going to expect. If you got a question about what Sparklet's going to do in the future, there's a number of questions, a number of answers that are there, a number of questions that could be answered by it. There are things that are a little bit, we have these protectionary measures we can use. Yes, the protectionary measures of changing utility. We don't know. We don't have a scale that says if this, then this. There's nothing that says that. But we know those tools exist, and Upland's going to try to have that be their responsibility to regulate the utility based on the cost and the price, I should say, the market price. So for tonight, let's say it. Sparklet is here. Sparklet's here. We are going to continue to see Sparklet grow in utility. We're going to continue to see Sparklet grow in use case, and it's going to be exchangeable, and it's going to be exchangeable in the not so distant future. We are waiting for more details. We're waiting for more details on the next airdrop, and we'll get even more details at some point about what I'm calling Spark, because we know the original Spark original players airdrop or additional airdrop, because those who are here originally, I'm going to say before the token release, they get a little additional incentive for having been here early. That's the adjustment of the Sparklet or Spark that they had earned prior to learning that there might be a shift in the allocation and the value. Easy enough. Thank you, Upland. This has been a long time coming. This has been helpful. The information provided was pretty succinct. The tools to kind of extrapolate some of the answers along the way, they're there in the white paper. I encourage everyone to take a look. For tonight, let's just say it. It feels like a new city's coming soon. And we have plenty of reason to know that it's going to be the city of Paris. Maybe it's a bait and switch. Maybe they're getting ready for Paris, and then Paris is 2 months away. And something's coming sooner. But I don't think it's the case. Right now, the Eiffel Tower is being built in Paris, even though there's no city of Paris yet. Oh, God, it's so exciting. The city of Paris is likely coming soon. Keep that in mind. Watch out for an announcement. You'll likely be seeing one soon. Thank you so much for being here. Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. PT. We get together. We take the 2 days off. The Friday is our last day of the week. Saturday is a day of rest, at least for me. Sunday, day of rest for me. We get back together on Monday again, 7:30 p.m. PT in the Upland Cafe and Discord. We get in the plaza a couple nights a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. And we're also obviously on YouTube and Twitter. Keep your eyes out. There's plenty more coming in Upland. This is an exciting time. Airdrop's going to be exciting. Thank you, Upland, for having emails or sending emails about the airdrop task and not making people check every couple hours on some platform as opposed to being able to see that immediately in their inbox. Again, thank you again. Thank you, Upland. Thank you, everyone watching. And if you are in the Upland Cafe Discord, feel free to unmute your mics. The floor is yours.